My testimony, my story of faith is entitled, My Children. It was really thrilling. I was excited to help volunteer at a deaf Christian school, which I later worked at. But that time I had to go to the doctor's office to get a tuberculosis test to make sure that everything was fine so I could work and volunteer at the school, the little Christian deaf school, Happy Hands. So I went to take the test, and then the nurse said, "Could you be pregnant?" And I said, "I don't think so." "Well, if you could possibly be pregnant, we can't give you the TB test until we first checked if you're pregnant." I said, "Okay, fine." But I really didn't think that I was pregnant. They did the test, and to my shock and thrill, I was pregnant. And for a long time, I had had a name in mind for my daughter. And I thought, I wasn't sure, and I'd have been happy if I'd had a son. I thought I would have a daughter. And the name that I had planned for a long time was Selah, taken from the Psalms. Well, anyway, as time went on, I remember it was time to find out, I was 6 months pregnant, if actually I had a girl or a boy. And like I said, I would have been thrilled to have a son or a daughter, but I thought I was going to have a daughter. So I was in Joplin. I had been teaching in Joplin, Missouri, at Ozark Christian College, teaching the deaf ministry program there, and I was driving back to my home in Tulsa. And as I was driving, there became a terrible snow, and there was ice, there was rain, snow, ice, a terrible storm. And I saw big trucks and cars on the side of the road, and it was very slick, and I was very afraid because I was not a good ice driver. I'm still not. And so finally I navigated and followed a truck to a truck stop restaurant. Went on in, and 6 months pregnant, very, very big, laid in a booth all night long. The next day I was supposed to go and find out if I had a little girl or a little boy. So in the morning, a truck driver woke me up and said, "Ma'am, I think it's fine to go to Tulsa now. Follow me." So I followed him. Actually, he said, "You go ahead and I'll follow you." So I knew I had somebody watching out after me, taking care of me, and I arrived successfully there. Then I went to the doctor, and sure enough, I found out that yes, I had a little girl. I remember I was 2 weeks trying to give birth to this baby, and she wasn't born yet. I wasn't sure what date she was supposed to be born. And then finally on June 1st, I had been walking and walking and walking and walking around this small park called Swan Lake Park. And no baby, no baby, no baby, no baby. And then finally I went into the doctor, and they gave me a shot to try to help the baby be born. But then all of a sudden they said, "No, you have an emergency, that the baby is having trouble." So they hurried me on in to have a C-section. I remember, I thought, this is going to take a long time. I was scared. I was praying. I was on the little table, and they were cutting me open, and then all of a sudden, really quickly, I heard this baby let out this cry. And I remember the weirdest thing ever. I was just weeping and weeping, crying and laughing all at the same time. I had never experienced such a thing before, laughing and crying at the same time. It was just a thrill of joy. So that's when my daughter, Selah Joy, was born. Her name signed Selah Joy. And she's always been a joy and continues to be a joy to me and blesses my life. Well, what was amazing was that when I was pregnant with Selah Joy, I was also making plans to go get this sweet young boy who was 9, who was deaf, in Columbia. His name, Andres. And so I made the plans to go get him, and I remember I flew there, and I remember meeting this cute little boy and how thrilled I was and getting to hug him. And for months before that, I had worked hard. We had had spaghetti dinners, and the churches had helped me to raise the money so that I could be able to adopt Andres. And then we had enough money to be able to go forward with the adoption. But before that, I remember praying, oh Lord, help me go, be able to adopt him. And I looked at the Bible, and I remember it saying, talked about us as children of the Lord, that we are his adopted children. We're sinners, but he was willing to accept us and to embrace us. And I remember I had a bookmark that I had made with leather, and I'd written on it, like same as the Bible said, I will come for you. I will come and get you. And I remember the thrill of knowing that God sought me out, and then I went to seek to get my son. And I'm so thankful for my son, Andres. And I loved him before I met him. I loved him the day I met him, and I love him still. And I'm so thankful. Then 6 years later, I found out about a beautiful little girl that was in Colombia as well. She was also deaf, and her name was Cloudy. Actually, her name previously had been Claudia, but when I arrived there, she had no language. She had made up 3 signs herself. She was living with a nice family, a grandma, grandpa family, an older couple, and they were sweet to her. They sometimes would discipline her by pulling her ear, but that's all that they did. They were very good to her. And I remember coming and meeting her, and her being shy and a little bit nervous, and just coming and embracing her. And from the very beginning, I brought books and began to teach her signs from these books. And she is really smart, so she learned the signs so quick. It was such a thrill. But you see, both times I went to Colombia, I dyed my hair black, and I put on some tanning things that made me look a little darker, because at that time, that area of Colombia, both times, was very dangerous. There had been a lot of murders in that area. They had murdered outside the city. They had murdered several missionaries, and there was just a lot of violence during that time. And I remember when I went to get Andres, I wrote a letter to Selah, the baby, who was only 1 month old when I went to go get Andres. And I wrote, honey, I love you. I'm going to get you a brother. And I actually made a little cassette tape for her if I died going. But I thank the Lord, he gave me protection, helped me to go get Andres. And then 6 years later, I flew over. And now this time, I flew to the city without an interpreter. I speak Spanish some. I'm not fluent, but I'm able to communicate. And I was able to communicate well enough to communicate with my lawyer. And then after I spoke and communicated with my lawyer, I went and communicated with the judge later in the day. But before that, the lawyer said, okay, now let's go shopping around the city. And I said, wait a minute, no, I can't do that, because I knew that that city was dangerous. The amazing thing was that Cloudy was adopted because God blessed us to get enough money by one gentleman, a Christian minister, who did magic shows. And we raised $5,000 for her adoption because he gave his talent of sharing magic shows. Of course, it's not bad magic, it's just a tricks of the fool your eyes, fun presentation magic. And then another organization matched that, so altogether we had $10,000 we're able to adopt cloudy. That day when I was communicating for myself without an interpreter, I remember she was saying, come on, go shopping. And I'm going, you don't understand. I didn't say this to her, but in my mind I thought, I know it's dangerous in this area in the city. I'm alone. I don't speak Spanish really well. And I have no money. So I don't want to go shopping. I just want to stay and rest. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go into the cathedral. And there in the cathedral, they had a telephone. And I made a call to a minister. He did not speak any English at all, but I called him. I said, can I please come and visit your house? Just for a little bit. And he said, sure, I'll come and pick you up now. So I was peeking out the door of the cathedral, and finally I saw that minister and his family, and I got in the car, and they drove me to their home. And so, I'm sorry, I am so tired. I don't even feel like sitting and visiting with you. Can I lay down in your bed? And they said, yes, see. So I laid down in their bed, and I remember that before I made the trip to adopt Cloudy, I had considered, should I do this? It's dangerous. Everyone warned me, because you see, it was 2001, the year 2001, and it was in the fall. It was in October, right after September 11th. Many people, many Hispanic people warned me, don't go, don't go. But the wonderful thing is, for a long time we didn't hear about Cloudy before I went to get her. And we found out that she had become really, really ill and almost died. So as I prayed, I said, no, I am going to go get that girl. And if I die, I pray God will care for my children. But I felt God say, go get her. So as I was staying at that minister's house, waiting until later that afternoon when I had to go before the judge to complete the adoption, I laid there in that bed. And I said, Lord, there is no place on earth, no place at all, that I could be more safe than here right now, because I've trusted you and I'm safe in your hand. Wow. God took care of me. He watched over me. And when we cry out to him and ask for his wisdom, his provision, his direction, he's always faithful. I'm so thankful for my precious, precious Cloudy. I am so blessed to have 3 beautiful children. Andres, who are now all not children, they're now grown and almost grown, as Cloudy's a high school senior. I'm thankful for Andres, for Selah, and for Cloudy. I thank God for giving me such a blessing to be the parents of these 3. I pray that you will thank God for your parents, that you'll thank God for your children, and that you'll continue to rest and trust in him to help you as you go forward in your journey of life, a journey of faith.